Chapter 5. The new blueprint autumn arrived. Quietly, the leaves by the playground turned amber, drifting across the cracked pavement like little embers. The morning air held the crisp scent of chalk dust and cold wind. Each day began the same. The bell rang, laughter scattered like birds, and the small world of childhood set into motion. But something was different now. Altara Vale sat beneath his usual tree, his knees drawn up, a small smile on his face. The playground was bustling as ever, but this time, it didn't revolve around him. Kids still traded stickers for snacks, pencils for rare cards, but they did it with their own rules, fairer rules. A few even drew charts in the dirt, mimicking the lessons from candy class. He had become unnecessary, and somehow, that felt right. "Hey, Professor Vale!" a boy shouted from the hopscotch line. "We used the equal trade thing you taught us." Altara lifted his hand in a lazy salute, glad to hear it. "Keep your margins fair." The boy blinked, unsure what margins meant, then laughed and ran off. Beside him, Ivy settled down with her sketchbook. "You know," she said, "you could at least pretend you're not proud." "I'm not pretending," he said, smiling. "It's nice to be obsolete. Most people don't say that. Most people never learn how to stop being needed." She looked at him sideways, curiosity flickering behind her eyes, a mix of admiration and worry. "You talk like you're going somewhere." Altara glanced at the sky. "Maybe I am." The days passed. The candy class became a school tradition. Even the teachers noticed. One of them, Mrs. Rayner, a kind-eyed woman who taught social studies, began attending the sessions herself, curious about the strange little system the students had invented. "You're the one behind this, aren't you?" she said one afternoon, kneeling beside Altara as he helped two second graders draw up a trade contract on notebook paper. He looked up. "I might be nudged them." Mrs. Rayner smiled. "You have an old soul." "Altara," he chuckled softly. "That's what people keep saying. You ever think about what you'll be when you grow up?" He paused. The question hit differently than she intended, all the time. "Well," she said, "if teaching's not on your list, it should be." Altara smiled faintly. "Maybe it already was." She nodded, not fully understanding, and walked away. That evening, Altara stayed late after class. The halls were empty, the fluorescent lights humming softly above him. He wandered past the trophy case, his reflection sliding across the glass, a 9-year-old boy with the weary eyes of an old man. He stopped before a shelf of old science fair projects. One plaque caught his eye: Innovation Award, Derek Mason, 3rd grade. He smiled. Derek had changed too. No longer the bully, no longer angry, just another kid learning to navigate fairness. In candy class, Derek had even helped others negotiate. Ivy had joked he'd make a good lawyer someday, Altara hoped. That was true. He ran his finger along the edge of the plaque, then turned and looked down the empty hallway rows of lockers. The smell of dust and childhood. It all felt so fleeting, like a world half-lit by memory. Sometimes he wondered if he'd been here before. Not just in this school, but in every metaphor of his life: climbing, ruling, falling, learning. Maybe that was what growing up really meant: learning. The same lessons until they finally stayed. The next day, the principal made an announcement. "Students, next Friday, we'll be holding our first ever fair trade fair, organized by our very own Altara Vale and friends." The announcement echoed through the hallways, followed by a cheer. Ivy shot him a grin. "You did it again. This time it's not mine," he said. "It's theirs, still." He couldn't help but feel something deep stir inside, the same thrill of creation he'd always chased, now tempered by something gentler. The week leading up to the event, Felt like building a small civilization all over again, but different. No power, no hierarchy. Just collaboration. Each class designed its own booth, one for candy trades, one for hand-drawn crafts, one for story swapping. There were posters, jingles, and even a currency exchange run by Derek and his new team. Fair, transparent, and democratic. Ivy oversaw the planning. Altara watched quietly, stepping in only when needed. He found joy in helping others solve problems. Instead of solving them himself, it was chaos, loud, bright and imperfect, but it was alive, and this time, he didn't want to control it. He wanted to remember it. By the time the fair arrived, the whole school buzzed with excitement. Banners hung from classroom windows. The air smelled of popcorn and sugar, and the blacktop shimmered under the late autumn sun. Altara stood near the center, clipboard in hand, watching his new world unfold. Kids laughed, traded, bartered, learned. Even teachers joined in. Mrs. Rayner swapped her pen for a candy bracelet. Derek managed the crowd with surprising diplomacy. Ivy drew a mural on the wall, a giant map of the schoolyard filled with symbols of fairness and friendship. At the bottom corner, she added a quote in chalk: "A fair trade is one where both sides walk away smiling." Altara read it and smiled himself. "You stole my line," Ivy grinned. "You needed better handwriting." As the sun began to set, he stood at the edge of the playground, just as he had on that first strange morning months ago. Back then, he'd been a lost man in a child's body, building an empire out of fear and habit. Now he was simply a boy, older in spirit, lighter in soul, standing among the echoes of something finally right. And yet he felt something shift. The air shimmered. The laughter seemed distant, muffled. For a moment, he thought he saw the playground dissolve into mist, replaced by a skyline. Tall and cold, glittering with the lights of his old life. He blinked. The world steadied again. "Altara?" Ivy's voice pulled him back. "You okay?" He nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just thinking." That night, he couldn't sleep. Every sound felt stretched. Unreal, the hum of the house, the creak of floorboards, his mother humming softly downstairs. He rose from bed and stood by the window, watching the moonlight spill over the empty street. It hit him then, the sense that his time here was ending. This world had taught him what he needed to learn. It wasn't punishment or illusion, it was mercy. He closed his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered, to whom he didn't know. And in the quiet of that moment, something inside him, the restless, hungry part that always wanted more, finally stilled.